And this macro market's brutal again today.
So there's the concept of beta where, Tesla would move at like, say, a beta of 2. So if the market's up 2%, Tesla would be up 4%. It seems like Tesla's beta right now is like an absolute value of -2. So even if the market's up 2%, Tesla's down 4. So, that obviously can't stay the case forever. The lower Tesla goes, the more I'm honestly like salivating right now, because Tesla's fundamentals are definitely going to win out in the end.
You don't know how irrational on the downside this can go for how long. That's what's scary. It's just like a follow the herd mass hysteria of asset allocators, just kind of all like closing out of their equities positions.
Nothing's trading on fundamentals right now. You're seeing Tesla kind of get treated like all the kind of like terrible SPAC companies out there, who like just had these valuations that never made any sense to begin with. I think it's going to take some time for companies that don't have earnings right now to kind of prove that they're, more legitimate and have some staying power. And I think those will get re-rated once the dust settles. But for companies, like the Apples and the Teslas of the world, who actually have earnings power, actually have, positive cash flow generation and reasonable metrics that you can use to value the company in the short term, I think those ones should rebound faster than the rest.
What do you think about Tesla and Giga Shanghai? It sounds like they're close to being back to full capacity.
To me, there's not a high degree of confidence on exactly where we are. There's been these conflicting reports. Putting it all together, it kind of makes me think we're going to be somewhere in like the 260,000 unit range, maybe 250, somewhere in that area.
stuck out to you about Rocket Lab or Roblox earnings?
Roblox they're very serious about monetization now. I think they, Dave Baszucki wisely, thought now is the time, like with the market with where it is, and frankly with Roblox with where it is and its kind of maturity level, it's time to start,
pulling that lever a little bit and trying to increase monetization. Rocket Lab, I think one of the maybe two main takeaways. One, they're incredibly capital efficient. They built a new pad in New Zealand, and they're building out their Wallops facility. So doing a lot of investment while they're also building a new or developing the new rocket. And they only spent $7 million of CapEx. That was one. And then they're diversifying their revenue, I think, more than people realize. About half their revenue is going to be coming from launch, and then half, and 50%, and probably growing over time, is going to come from providing services and software and products to other, participants within the space industry. So if the market was still where it was when he initially made the bid, I would say it should be like $50 to $54. But because the market's really tanked, I would say it should be like 40. His motives are generally pretty straightforward. Just that, he wants a better outcome for humanity, like you said, Emmet, and he's concerned about a trend that he sees. If you're going to grow earnings by 50% per year, then financial theory would tell you a PEG ratio of 1 is appropriate. And so that would translate to a PE ratio of 50. I mean, I would be super pumped. The business would show to me that it's booming. Like a higher floor is in the Tesla stock at that point, in my mind. But if the macro market is trading like the way it is, like, who knows? It could have a similar reaction to what Zoom did. Like, it could be up 20% or 25% on the earnings report after hours. But if the whole macro market is down 3 or 4% the next day from Snap giving worse guidance or whatever, Tesla might end up the day only up 5%. Or the leaps are very risky, options in general. People have been slaughtered from leaps in the last 6 months. If you own all stock, you're down 50% on Tesla, which sounds horrible. But if you own a lot of leaps, you're down a lot more than 50%. You're probably down 80 or 90% if you own a lot of leaps, from the highs, so maybe more. So it's very risky.